the one, the only, Ben Sion. Good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Dafid, as we continue Daf Yomi Maseches Gittin. We're going to start from the Mishnah today on Chav Chet and Aleph, discuss about a chazaka. Do we assume the person was once alive? Do we continue presuming that he's still alive, as it applies to different halachas about Gittin, about Truma, and Karbanos also? Let's get into the Mishnah. Chav Chet and Aleph, about 10 lines down. Maybe get Veinicha Zakin. A man, he sends a get with a shliach to give to his wife, and he's an old man. Oh, chol, or he's sick. No sin la, he can go across seas, give it to the woman, assuming that he's still living, right? If he's not living, right, the get is invalid. The get is only valid as long as the man is living. Bas Yisrael, hanisua l'kohen. Let's say a daughter of a Yisrael, she's married to a Kohen, and therefore she could eat truma. Her husband went overseas to a different country. She can still continue eating truma. We rely on the chazaka. Once he was alive, he still remains alive. We assume he's still alive. Let's say you're living outside of Eretz Yisrael and you're chayav achata sometime at the base of Mikdash. You don't have to be in Eretz Yisrael to bring a korban. You could send it with a shliach. So you send an animal on a boat to Eretz Yisrael. Maybe get a good rate if you have two sins, 2 for 1. From Dinas Hayam, we allow the base to sacrifice that animal on the presumption that he's still alive, because if he's dead, that's called a chatas shemesu ba'ala. And a chatas shemesu ba'ala has to, you lock it up in a room and you let it die. It's not offered as a korban. The Gemara says, "Amar Rava lo shanu el zakin shal agil legvuros v'chola sharov chol l'chayim." We talk about an old person. He's not that old. He's not 80 years old. Less than 80 years old, that's what the Mishnah meant. And when he's sick, he's not sick because most sick people get better. He's not that sick. So if he's that old, he's 80 years old. Vigoses, he's in the throes of death. Meaning, I guess he's a coma or something like that. Sharov goes, most people in a coma actually die. In that case, we don't presume he's still alive. Presume he's dead, or at least it's a suffix. Abaye asked a question. Maybe you bring a get. You left the man, he's an old man. Afilu ben mea shana, he's 100 years old. He's a centenarian. You can give the get without delay, without questioning whether he's still alive. We assume he's alive to Yufta. This seems to be a contradiction with the statement of Rabbah. So the Gemara says to Yufta, it is in fact a refutation of Rabbah. Maybe it's true. Maybe Rabbah was right. Once you're 80 years old, you don't presume you're still alive. But this person lived 100 years old. If he lived 100, he'll live to 120. So therefore, but a regular 80-year-old person, we assume at least there's a possibility that you have to inquire. It's a suffix. I wouldn't say it's vata that he's dead. It's a suffix, and you can't give the get unless you confirm that he's still alive. V'raminhu, Ramile Abaye the Rabba. Abaye asked Rabba the following question. Tanan, it says in our Mishnah, maybe you get V'nicha zaken ochol, and also l'chesed l'shukayim. By a get, we assume he's alive. V'raminhu, a Brisa says, Harei gidich shachas kodem l'misasu. He gives his wife a get, and says this get should take validation and should come effective 1 second before I die. When I die, it's like you got to get, right? The reason he does this is because he doesn't want his wife to fulfill the evil. He'd rather her be separated with the get. Asura lechel b'truma miyash. He can't eat truma right away, because if he eats truma right now, he might die the next second. And then retroactively, when she's eating truma, she's no longer married to him. She can only eat truma when she's married to a Kohen. Amar Lei, so he said back to him, Rabbah said back to him, Truma Gittin karamas. You can't ask a question from Truma to Gittin. Truma efshar, get lo efshar. Right? Truma, a woman doesn't have to eat truma. She can eat chulin also. So therefore, we don't necessarily rely on the chazaka. But get, right? We need to make sure women have to get their get. We don't want them to be agunos. So we rely on chazaka. Chazaka, you rely on. Chazaka rely on the Torah. Virami truma. Nonetheless, he persisted. I have a question from Truma on another case of truma. Tanan. It says in our Mishnah, our Mishnah says you're going to assume he's alive vis-a-vis eating truma. But this Brisa says, you can't eat truma right away. So you assume he's dead. Amar Rav Ada B'rei Rav Yitzchak Shiny Hasam Shrei Asher Lav Sha'achas Karm Misasa. So Rav Yitzchak gives a very tenuous answer, very difficult answer to actually understand what he's saying, because the case in our Mishnah, there's only one question: did he die? Right? By the case of this case is Brisa, if he died and the get took effect a minute before that or a second before that, so since the get took us a second before that, so it's not really just one suffix; it's sort of two suffixes, and it's like a tarte de reisa, right? When there's two reisas, that ruins the chazaka. It ruins the chazaka because not just the fact that he died, but also 1 minute before, and she also can't eat truma. That's what we're more machmer over there. Maskil Rav Papa. Rav Papa asks the following question: the EU is Bereisha. What's the assumption, right, that he's going to die first? Dilma EU Bereisha. When he makes the tonight, right? If I die, it's going to get right. That's all as a trait. It's hard to reisa. Two bad things could happen, but maybe she'll die first, and there's no him dying and the get. There's only one reisa. She died. Elam Abaye therefore says, Lo kasha. The two statements about truma are not difficult. Ha Rabbi Meir, ha Rabbi Yehuda the Chayish Misa. Maklokes Hanoim. One brisa reflects the opinion of Rabbi Meir, who is not worried about Misa. That's our Mishnah. And the brisa is Rabbi Yehuda, who worries that a people will die. It's not. There's no chazaka. Chazaka is ruined because then so much people die, or at least we're worried people will die. It's a suffix. It's not a chazaka. It's not. Where do you find this maklokes? He buys wine. We had this Mishnah before. He buys wine from the Kusim. Kusim were not believed like Amaratzim. Rov Kusim did not take out Shemin V'Maishos. So it's Tevel. So he buys the barrel of wine. Omer Shnei Lugin Shan Asi Lahafra Shrei and Truma. It's Erev Shabbos. He wants to take it off. He doesn't have a place to put it. So when you can't take off a Horosh Trumas or Maishos on Shabbos, but he wants to drink from the wine. So he says to Lugin that I'll have left over after Shabbos. There'll be Truma. Asara Meiser Rishon, I'll take off 10 Lugin. That's 100 Lugin in the bottle. Or Meiser Rishon. Tisha Meiser Sheni. 9 Meiser Sheni. Meichel V'Shosam Yan. He's already removed the status of Tevel, and he can drink right away. Divrei Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Ostrin. They all Asr. Right? So Rabbi Yehuda Asrs. We explained that the Maskana of the Gemara was that really it's Machlokas whether Roshana Yavaka Anod. Maybe the flask will split, will break in half. Right? And therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're worried about such a thing. And similarly, we're worried about someone dying. According to Meir, we're not worried about uncommon eventualities. Rava Amar, Rava says, on the top of Chav Chedam and Beis, Shema Meis Lo Chashina, Shema Yamos Chashina. We don't have to say, to resolve the two statements about Truma, by saying one reflects one Tana, one reflects another Tana. Everyone could agree to this. The question in our Mishnah, right, where we assume he's alive, that's a question: did he die? Did he die? We have a chazaka. But here, the Brisa, which talks about, right, her being able to eat truma in the future, that's a question of Shema Yomos, Chayshina. And that we're Choshe. Shema Yomos, every second he might die, that is something we're worried about. Because there's no chazaka, right? The chazaka, right, when we're worried if he dies. So the chazaka, the assumption was status quo, he's alive. But here the question is, the way you phrase, I'm going to give you a get 1 second before I die, the question is a recurring question. Is he alive? Is he alive? No chazaka, no status quo to rely on. Amali Ravada bar Masna the Rava of a had node the Kashema Yamos Upli. The case of you want to compare death. What about the barrel or the flask of wine? Right? That's a question whether it'll break in the future. That's a question whether it will break in the future. And they have a machlokas, right? That's a machlokas. Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Aser. They're worried about it, and Rabbi Meir does not worry about that. Amar of Yehuda, Mediskaras, Hashani, no, the Efshar, the Mashaleh, the Shomer. The case of the eventuality of the flask splitting in half and breaking, that Rabbi Meir is not worried about, that's different because you can give the flask to a person who's going to watch it and help protect it, that no eventuality should happen. But death, no one can protect against death. Even if a person has a guarantor for a loan, the guarantor also needs a guarantor. Nothing's safe, basically. And Rav gives the final answer. Our mission is a question of Shema Meis of Chazaka. Shema meis loichashina. Shema yamos tanahi. But the machlokas is about whether it'll happen in the future. Do you have the chazaka or a word about the eventuality? That's a machlokas. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon worry about that. They assume you don't have a chazaka. And Meir says, no, you have a chazaka because we look at it. Now he's alive, so you still have the chazaka. The third case in our Mishnah, he said, you can be makrav it, you don't have to assume he died. The Gemara says there's a problem. When you bring a korban chatas, you have to lean on the animal. And you have to misvada, you have to admit your sins. That you can only do in person. You can't do it through a shliach. How you even makar the korban in the first place? I don't know, Yosef, bekorban nashim. It's talking about a woman who sent it. She does not do smicha. The Gemara in Mizachas Erev says nashim, if they want to, some kos rishus, they could, but they're not. In one opinion, they're not allowed to, but they definitely don't have to. Rav Papa Omar, the chatas ha'of. He says our Mishnah is talking about not a regular chatas ha'of. On certain sins, you bring a chatas of a bird as a chatas, and when it's a bird, you do not actually do smicha. V'sricha chatas ha'of, for example, a zavar bring chatas of the pair of birds. Kinim, one of them is a chatas ha'of. V'sricha. You need both. You need all three cases in our Mishnah. They actually don't get that we rely on a chazaka by get mishum delefsha, right? We want to make sure women are not agunos. About truma, the efshar truma, you don't have to eat truma. You can eat chulin. Maybe we shouldn't rely on the chazaka. We actually need a truma. If I just tell you truma, we rely on chazaka. It's different than the efshar. Sometimes the only food to eat is truma, so you have to rely on it. When it comes to chatas, now the word ha'of is taken out by a lot of people because the whole concept the Rashba explains doesn't make any sense. The chatas ha'of is brought on a suffix. That's the unique halacha chatas ha'of, that it's even brought on a suffix. So it's regular korban chatas that a woman sends in, for example. So therefore, there's a possibility, right, that the woman is actually dead, and therefore we shouldn't bring chul nazara. Once the woman dies, somehow the animal loses its kedusha. This is Reb Kiva Eir's problem over here. Just because a chatas, the owner died, doesn't mean it loses the kedusha. We put it in a room and let it die. Right? It's Tomos, so you lock it up and let it die by itself. Where did the Kedusha go? It's not Chul Nazara. It's even if you brought into the Nazara, you're not violating Chul Nazara. It's the mitzvah essay not to bring Chul Nazara, but technically you didn't do anything wrong. Sricha. And therefore, it's necessary to tell you, even in that case, we don't worry about that. We rely on the Chazaka. You could bring the Korban Chatas, assuming the woman is still alive. The Mishnah says, Shosha Dvarim Amar will explain in Iyad Ben Sion, and I'll give an answer to Kiriyar's Kasha, why an animal in a certain respect does. Really does lose his Kedusha. I'll explain that in Iyad Ben Sion. The Mishnah says, Shosha Dvarim Amar Rebbe Ben Part to testified three things in front of the Chachamim. Rikimu es Dvarov. When he said it to them, they asserted that he was true, he was right about them. Let's say a city, a Jewish city, is besieged by the enemy. A boat which is in rough winds and water. Someone's going to a court case, a criminal, he's being tried for capital offenses. They go into the courtroom. We assume they're still alive. There's no reason to assume that they're dead or they're going to be killed until the verdict is handed in or until the city is captured. But if it was captured by the enemy, the Svina, the city, the boat was lost at sea. We lost it. We don't have any connection. We don't know the GPS of the boat. The capital case, he was convicted, and now he's on death row. We're not sure if they actually died yet. So therefore, he's a suffix. And you have to be makmer and all the halachas. One example of that is that in neither case could the woman eat truma. If she's married to a Kohen, the Kohen might have died, she can't eat truma. If she's the daughter of a Kohen, so we assume that he's still alive, and she's married to Yisrael, we assume the Yisrael is still alive, and she can't go back to her father's house and eat truma. Amar of Yosef, the Gemara says, Lo shana lo beis shel Yisrael. Our Mishnah is only talking about when he goes to a court case in a Jewish court. Al beis shel avdei kachavim, in non-Jewish court, came in the gomer leidina lektala miktal kadilei. It's not a suffix, right? We said in court, if he's accused and he's convicted of a capital offense, it's a suffix. That's only by a Jewish court, because we're going to learn Masechah Sanhedrin. People could always find schus, so you can, even the person's going out to be killed, you can go and retrieve him. But non-Jewish courts, once they convict someone, He's on death row. He'll always be killed. Amalei Abaye. Abaye says, based on Shaldik Chavim Nami, the Makabli Shokta. What do you mean? Fine, they're not going to find schusim, but they're not going to find a reason to acquit him, but they take bribery. His family could bribe them, they won't kill him. Amar like Yishaklim Makabli Dalachtum Porsei Shanmeg. That's only before the conviction is written. Labasar the Bixam Porsei Shanmeg. Once the case is signed upon that they're going to kill him, the verdict is in. Lo Shakli. They don't take bribes. Mezive, I have a question for Rice. I call Malcolm Shiam Dushnai Yomram Hidinanu Asish Ploni Shinning Wardino based in Shal Ploni Ploni Edav. The Mishnah Masachas Makos. Hareze Yahare. Right? A person escapes. He's tried in a court. He's convicted with certain witnesses, and he runs away. So they bring him to a different court. He goes to a different country, and a person testifies. These are the witnesses. He brings the witnesses, and this is the court. Two people testify about that. So even though he was convicted in a different court, now he's killed by a second court. So, and this is a show about a Jewish court. So we see by a Jewish court. Now we assume he's dead. Why do you say Chumrei Chaim, Chumrei Mason? We assume he's dead. When it says Dilma Boreach Shiny, someone runs away. The reason he's running away is probably there's no reason people are going to acquit him anymore. He's obviously guilty of the fact that he's running away. So therefore, in that case, it's for sure that he's going to die. Tashma Shalash Mi Basin Shal Yisrael. The Brisa says he heard from a basin of Israel. She Omrem Ish Ploni Mace. They heard such a person died. Ish Ploni Nerag, or they said that such and such a person was killed. Yasiu as Ishto. Someone passes by and hears that. So that's grounds to allow his wife to remarry. Mikum na Tristan Shalik Chavim. Ish Ploni Mace Ish Ploni Nerag. I'll guess Ishto. If he hears from the executioners or a court of non-Jews that he's dead or that he was killed, you can't trust him that he actually died. He can marry his wife. So the Gemara first analyzes his brisa. My mace, my what does it mean that he died and that he was killed? You let him mace mamish. He actually died. They're saying he actually died. Nerag means that he was killed. The same thing would be by non-Jewish court. Why by a non-Jewish court don't we trust them? We believe non-Jews, even though they don't have namanas, they're not good Eidim. We don't trust them. But when he's talking about random facts, he's not talking us to testify. They're just having a conversation. So, and there's no point to the conversation. There's no legal ramification. They usually tell the truth. El Lav must be Mace Yosel Lamos. Mace means he didn't actually die. He's going out to die. He's convicted. He's going out. He's on death row. Nerag Yosel Lahari. He's going out to be beheaded or to be hanged. Megatani based in Israel. Yasiu Ishto. Nonetheless, it says that if he hears it from a Jewish court, you can presume he died. Not like our Mishnah says. Not like Rav Yosef said, that it's a suffix, right? No, Chumrei Chaim, Chumrei Mesa. It's a suffix. Laola Mace Mamish. The Gemara rejects it. Really, the Brisa means Mace, he actually died. Venerag Nerag Mamish. That's why you believe a Jewish court, because he actually died, or that he died. Not just that he's going out to die. He's convicted. Of the Chavim on my law. Why don't we trust non-Jews? They're believed b'siach levitumah. That's only when it comes to things which are not relevant to them. When it's something relevant to them, they like to brag. Non-Jews like to brag. Most alpha males are non-Jews, except me. They like to brag, and when they're bragging to their friends, they like to put in some lies. They'll lie about it, even though the person, we got this person killed, and maybe he's not actually going to die. So therefore, it's possible he's not going to die. Ikad Amri, a different language of Rav Yosef. Amr Rav Yosef, you know what? We're going to stop over here because it's a good place to stop. Rav Yosef says exactly the opposite of what we said in the first line of the Gemara after this Mishnah. Exactly the opposite. So let's stop over here. Stay tuned for Iyad Ben Sion, where I want to discuss right before the Mishnah on Chav Chedem Beis, where it talks about a korban chatas, and someone sent a chatas for Dinas Hayam. We're not concerned that he died or she died. Why should we be concerned? Because if they died, right, there's a possibility that it's a chatas shemeiz balav, and the chatas has to be locked up in a room and killed. And you might bring chul nazara. What do you mean bring chul nazara? The animal is still hektish, right? You put it in a room, it died. It's hektish. It doesn't lose the kedusha. That's Rabbi Akiva's question. It doesn't lose kedusha. So what does it going to mean that we should be worried? Maybe we're worried about Mevi and Chulin Lazara. Bashman, we're not worried about that. Why would you worry about Chulin Lazara? It's not Chulin, it's Hekdesh. We'll talk about that. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.